crow on the wall, snow in my hair, steel at my throat, smoke in the air. Names like curses carved in the stone, born as a pawn, dreaming of thrones. Oh, hail the ones who burn for a crown. Oh, hail the wolves that won't bow down. Raise up the ruined, the broken, the bones. War writes the song of the DireWold.
Hvad så, folkens? Welcome back to another video. We are going to continue our journey with the world of A Song of Ice and Fire. So, let's get to it.
Such tidings also made their way as far as the wall before long, which convinced Maester Aemon that Daenerys was the princess who was promised, which prompted the old man and Samwell Tarly to make their way to the citadel in Old Town. Aemon unfortunately died.
Have I heard about that before? Was that on the... That sounds familiar.
On the voyage. Still, Samwell informed the Archmaester Marwyn, who, upon hearing what Aemon had deliberated upon, decided to travel to Slaver's Bay to offer the Breaker of Chains his services. Despite all this bubbling support in her homeland, in Meereen, Daenerys' experiment with rulership had proven to be faltering.
Really?
The Sons of the Harpy, a militant order composed of Giscari noblemen, had formed in order to resist Targaryen rule. They subsequently waged a guerrilla war against her, emerging during the night to slaughter freedmen, unsullied and shavepates, before disappearing back into the winding alleyways of the city before they could be captured. In response, Daenerys founded the Brazen Beasts, a city watch composed of the people of Meereen, while also placing a bounty of 1,000 honors upon the head of each of the Sons of the Harpy's heads. To fund this costly endeavor, a blood tax was levied upon the noble families of the city, while 2 hostages from each of these prestigious slaver families were demanded in an attempt to stem the bloodshed. Despite all these measures taken, Daenerys Targaryen's faltering experiment with rulership was to continue. Indeed, her role as a kind-hearted ruler grappling with
I mean, she gotta start somewhere, right? So, yeah, like, keep ruling.
the realities of a world
the other choices, like, she's not fighting, like, the good guys, right? Like, she's fighting slave owners, so...
stubbornly refused to consent to the changes she wished to implement, would soon begin to bear heavily upon her.
Okay.
Following their founding as a militia hell-bent on deposing Daenerys' rule, the Sons of the Harpy remained unrelenting, offering 100 slave girls to anyone who could bring them the silver-haired head of the city's ruler. This was not the end of their promises, for suffering was to be dished out to any who supported what the nobles deemed unfair occupation of their city. As the murders continued apace, Daenerys' kind heart again got in the way, as she found herself unable to harm the hostages she had taken from the city's noble families to deter the Sons of the Harpy, even if it might stop the attacks.
I mean, I don't think it would, honestly. Like, I think if she hurt, especially when it's kids, right? I think if she hurt them, it would actually do something worse, right? It would put her in a really, really bad light. I don't think the Sons of the Harpy cares about the hostages.
Instead, she founded 3 more companies of freedmen, the Stalwart Shields, the Mother's Men, and the Free Brothers, who were all charged with defending the city from the Harpies. While most of Meereen's nobility despised her, some of the city's upper crust still supported her. This faction came to be known as Shavepates, a group who, as we mentioned in our story before, had been targeted by the Sons of the Harpy due to their loyalties.
Damn.
To display their support for the Queen, these men renounced the Giscari culture of old by shaving their heads and abandoning their traditional hairstyle. Moreover, their leader, Skahaz Mokandak, also served as a counselor to Daenerys. To further complicate matters in a politically chaotic city, the Queen's dragons had grown wilder, hunting and slaughtering sheep in the hinterlands outside of Meereen's walls.
As dragons
Daenerys
do.
compensated the shepherds for their losses. However, when another herder presented the burned bones of his daughter, Azea, Daenerys' hand was forced.
Oh.
Viserion and Rhaegal were imprisoned in a pit below the Great Pyramid, where they could do no more harm. Drogon escaped this attempted containment, flying towards the Dothraki Sea. As the burdens of rule continued to mount upon Daenerys' back, the last scion of old Valyria was visited by a vision of Quaithe as she slept, who warned her of more significant dangers to come. Soon comes the Pale Mare, and after her the others, Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son and the Mummer's Dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the Undying. Beware the Perfumed Seneschal.
Okay. Sun comes the Pale Mare, and after her the others. Kraken and Dark Flame, Lion and Griffin, the Sun's Son. Damn, what a riddle. I mean, the Kraken might be Euron, right? And Dark Flame. Maybe a follower like Stannis' bitch. It might be. And a Lion and Griffin. Damn. And the Mummer's Dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the Undying. Beware the Perfumed.
A merchant prince of Karth, Zaros
That's tough.
and Daxos, offered Daenerys a solution to her ongoing problems, proposing to give her 13 ships, which her people could use to depart for Westeros immediately. However, as soon as the Queen realized that her freedmen would have to be left behind, she refused the offer outright. At this point in her reign, all she had strived to build was on the verge of being toppled. In Yunkai, slavery had resumed, and the wise masters had re-established an army comprised of slave levies and sellswords, complemented by their allies in New Geese, who sent the formidable Iron Legions to aid them. With all this new manpower, they set their sights on restoring the old world order in Astapor. With an army approaching his gates, King Cleon scrambled to prepare for the onslaught, with Daenerys predictably offering him no aid. As a result, he was defeated at the Horns of Hazat, with his poorly trained and inexperienced new Unsullied scattered and slaughtered during a wild and...
I wonder, like, how did this dude even get that many supporters against the Dragon Queen, right? Like, dude.
Uncoordinated retreat to Astapor. Daenerys regretted not lending her aid, yet Meereen would undoubtedly have fallen to the Harpies in her absence if she had.
Yeah.
Cleon the Great, as he had begun to style himself, was assassinated by his soldiers. His successor, Cleon II, would only survive 8 days on the throne before having his throat cut. He was succeeded by his killer, a former barber known appropriately as King Cutthroat. Cutthroat subsequently surrendered the city, allowing the besiegers to put most of its population to the sword, while Cutthroat himself was thrown into a pit where a pack of rabid dogs killed him.
Damn.
After the sack of Astapor, the Yunkish set their eyes on Meereen and began a march upon the city along the coast road, which placed Daenerys under immense pressure. Galaza Galare, the high priestess of the town, counseled that to appease the nobles of Slavers Bay, Daenerys should marry a noble of the city. The gentleman Hisdar Zolorek was identified as the most eligible bachelor. An agreement between the two was quickly hashed out, with Hisdar being told that if he could stop the murders committed by the Sons of the Harpy within 90 days, he would earn the Queen's hand in marriage. This bargain was made against the wishes of Ser Barristan, who vehemently opposed it. Not long after, Daario Naharis returned to the city, and
it's only a bad idea if she's planning on not staying in Meereen, right? If she still wants Westeros, she needs to stay single to get a marriage pact with somebody.
Tidings came with the sellsword's homecoming. Negotiations with the Lazarene had been successful, and the peaceful shepherd people would now trade with Meereen. When Daenerys asked Daario his opinion on her arranged marriage, the ever-pragmatic leader of the Stormcrows suggested that the marriage ceremony should be used as a pretense to bring together the nobility and execute them en masse. Revolted by his Machiavellian instincts, Daenerys sent his Stormcrows back out of the city to guard the Khazai Pass. The situation went from bad to worse for Daenerys when ships from Qarth, Tolos and New Gis blockaded the harbour of Meereen. Lacking a navy of her own, Daenerys' followers were unable to dislodge the blockade. In slightly gladder tidings, it seemed as if Hizdahr had managed to put a stop to the murders within the city. However, this success generated suspicions that Hizdahr was a son of the Harpy all along. Meanwhile, Astapori refugees had made their way to the town. Since many of them were infected with the bloody flux, Daenerys was forced to make them camp outside the city's walls, so they would not contaminate the people within. Hizdahr's diplomatic efforts continued when he contacted the Yunkai, who offered a peace that required tribute from the Targaryens and an agreement that Yunkai and Astapor would return to their former status as slaver cities without her interference. An agreement contingent upon Daenerys and Hizdahr's marriage. After this, Daario returned to the town again, bringing news that the Second Sons had defected to Yunkai. The Yunkai force now consisted of 4 sellsword companies, Tolosi slingers, Qarthine camelry, and 6 Iron Legions of New Gis. With the immense stress of the situation bearing heavily upon her, Daenerys gave in to her urges and took Daario as her lover. A mere day before her wedding to Hizdahr, Daario introduced the Mother of Dragons to the Windblown, who had defected to their side. One man among them revealed himself as Quentyn Martell, the Prince of Dawn. Quentyn had brought with him a signed wedding pact to marry his sister, the Dornish princess Arianne, to Daenerys' brother Viserys. Upon learning Viserys was in fact dead, Quentyn offered his hand in marriage to Daenerys. In an attempt earlier promises, Daenerys rejected the proposal out of hand, and instead married Hizdahr. Hizdahr then invited the captains of the Yunkish army into the city to celebrate the peace treaty and the reopening of the fighting pits, with Meereenese hostages being sent to the Yunkish camp to ensure the Yunkish captains' safety, with Daenerys despising the entire ordeal. The Queen attempted to convince Quentyn Martell to return home for his safety while visiting her dragons, before making her way to Desnak's pit for the festivities. As the celebrations at the pit commenced, everything went south incredibly quickly. Wishing for Daenerys to try some of the local cuisines, Hizdahr urged Daenerys to try a Meereenese delicacy, locusts. These insects were instead consumed by the bottomless pit that was Belwes, who promptly dropped to his knees and began to evacuate the contents of his stomach, revealing that the locusts had been poisoned. At that exact moment, Drogon swooped into the pit to eat the body of a fallen pit fighter, which caused panic in the crowd. One man fired a spear at the dragon, which prompted Daenerys to rush to his side, mount him, and fly from the arena. This flight caused many to fear that Daenerys had died, and chaos broke out in the city. However, she remained very much alive. Drogon had brought her to the Dothraki Sea, but would no longer listen to her commands. As such, she began the long walk back to Meereen. During this trek, she fell ill, retching and suffering from diarrhea, suffering a fever dream of Viserys, before finally being able to recall Drogon to her side. At this point, the Khalasar of Khal Drogo came upon both dragon and back.
Oh no. Is this good or bad that Dothraki found her? It gotta be good, right? Like, she was... I don't know, the Dothraki kind of fought each other a lot, so I don't think it's like a good sign of her being with Khal Drogo.
In Meereen, the chaos that had engulfed the city resulted in an unlikely alliance between Ser Barristan, Grey Worm, and Skahaz. Barristan was infuriated by what he deemed to be a plot by Hizdahr to assassinate Daenerys. However, he did not act against Hizdahr, believing that in the absence of the Queen, it was not his place to make such decisions. However, the grandfatherly Barristan's anger came to a boiling point when Bloodbeard, the leader of the Company of the Cat, informed him that one of the Meereenese hostages had been executed. Barristan, alongside the Brazen Beasts, reacted by arresting Hizdahr, slaying the massive and imposing pit fighter Kraz in the process. Unfortunately, despite Barristan having urged Quentyn to leave the city for his own sake, the Dornishman attempted to tame one of Daenerys' dragons and was mortally wounded by dragonfire, with Rhaegal and Viserion escaping as a result of the Martell prince's folly. Faced with enemies on all fronts, Barristan was forced to assume the role of Hand of the Queen. A council session was then called, where the plan for the city's defense was decided upon. Matters were complicated when the news was brought to Sir Barristan that the Yunkish catapults had begun flinging corpses into the town, infected with the bloody flux. Ordinarily, Sir Barristan would have defended the city from behind its stout walls. Yet for this fight, he made the bold choice to ride out and meet the besiegers in the field, rather than watch the pale mare bring Meereen to its knees.
I mean, if they really are throwing like bodies with sickness in them, like you're gonna lose a lot more people by staying inside the city, and if you lose too many of your soldiers, like facing your opponent on the field is no longer a chance. Again, I don't really know how many he has left in the city though.
As a result, Barristan assembled the forces available to him. On the evening before the offensive took place, he gave a speech to the newly anointed knights he had been training in the city up until this point. Then, at the coming of the dawn, Barristan ordered the attack. This brings us up to date with the tale of Daenerys Targaryen at the time of writing. However, we remain hopeful that the winds of winter will bring us to the culmination of the second siege of Meereen in due time.
Okay, interesting. So Daenerys hadn't really, I mean, she have gotten far, but I thought she was like way further. Like, I've heard stories about what happens in Game of Thrones, so I can definitely see that they really put a lot more content into Daenerys than they kind of did to and then she has done way more in the TV show than she have done in the books, from what I can see. Mainly because of, like, I heard stories about what she have been doing, right? I knew that she had dragons and stuff like that. So yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's quite... I mean, I wouldn't say Daenerys is actually a bad ruler. She's just been giving, like, the worst situations after the worst situations in ruling a city. So, yeah. Luckily, she had some pretty loyal people around her, like Sir Barristan. Otherwise, she would have been screwed. Yeah, I kind of agree that I don't really trust her new husband, though. Yeah, that's like... Plus, like, the deal sounded a bit too good to be true, right? Like, they would get... she would be allowed to keep Meereen, and they would get... Yunkai and Astapor. I think they were always just planning on killing her. So, yeah. Damn. That's tough. But interesting. Like, I'm happy to see that a lot of stuff is happening in Essos too, right? Like, that's great. So, yeah. The original video will be down in the description, guys. If you guys want to check out some more Song of Ice and Fire videos, I'll have a playlist up on screen. If you guys want to check out some more Middle Earth lore videos, I'll have another playlist up on screen. Otherwise, please like, share, subscribe. See you guys later. Bye.
Bare feet in the furrowed ground, dust on my tongue, heat bearing down, sun like a hammer on my back, name I was born with, they took that. But my chains flow soft like water, running through this tired soul. You can bind my hands together, you can't cage what rivers know.